Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of the Decagon video. So in this video, we're gonna talk about how the Decagon diamond was originated and why it was designed in this special way. In fact, we're gonna have a special guest in this video, Paul Hung. And for those who don't know, Paul, he is the designer and patent holder of this special diamond cut. He's gonna share with us more insight about the Decagon and the story behind it and why it was created. So it's gonna be quite a technical and long video because we're gonna deep dive more into the diamond, but I promise you it's gonna be very interesting and you're gonna have a lot of information about the diamond. So if you're interested to find out more, do continue to watch on. Hi Paul. So what made you design the Decagon, and was there really a need to do another higher faceted diamond in the market?
Okay, so as you know, in the industry over the years, modified cuts has popped out here and there over the last decade or so. Especially about 8 years ago, where everyone were into modified cuts. But the problem in back then was that people really lacked the knowledge of the technology to really push the boundaries of how diamonds should be cut. Firstly, they lacked the understanding of virtual faceting. That's one. Second, light performance is a very generic term that people don't really understand. Even people in the industry themselves don't even understand it. And number three, most modified cuts, so anything that is out of the norm from the normal 57 round faceted diamond, basically ended up turning to become like a gimmick. People would put star shapes inside, and you have more contrasting in the center of the diamond. You would have floral patterns, or you would have extremely high lower girdle facets, or even 12 arrows in the diamond that caused overclustering and did not perform well under bright light, but it sparkles, but it sparkles only with pinpoint amount of fire because its faceted so high and poorly faceted by position. As the years went by, over the last decade or so, we see improvement or transparency in the industry, both online and offline, where vendors started using the ASAT scope, the hearts and arrows scope, useful tools basically to give more transparency to the cut of the diamond. And the cut of the diamond really actually matters in terms of value for the diamond, even more so than the other C's. If you do your research, which most people do these days, they will know that cut is really one of the most important things to look out for. Now, what's happening over the last 2-3 years or 4 years or so in industry, at least, people as they compete with each other in terms of the transparency and quality of cut, profit margins started decreasing. People started having higher competition, and basically, if one company were to be more transparent, and they didn't have the capability to sell a good cut, they bought diamonds only from the floating market, for example, then and they show the diamond under the ASAT scope, it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot, right? And so the trend over the last 4 years is that companies like that, or rather most companies, started pulling back, and they stopped using useful tools such as the ASAT scope. Nowadays, if you buy online or offline, the most you will get is a picture of the diamond or the hard scenario scopes, which really barely tells you anything about the diamond at all. And they started removing a lot of these things, and this is the trend for the last 4 to 5 years. Even a lot of popular vendors online used to be very transparent, but now a lot of things have been pulled out. That being said, we kind of moved backwards, and that has been a norm because people have been making less profits, or rather from the industry standpoint, and rather than moving forward. So in the last 7 years, basically I've been designing the White Series line, starting with the Decagon first, to really push the boundaries of how diamonds should be cut, or how it can exceed any of the existing modified cuts in the world, in terms of its light performance and design. So there is also the case of the generation these days want to feel much more connected to what they purchase. It is a thing. This new generation wants something special, unique. They also look out, and they're very well educated. They learn online, especially. They do a lot of deep dive researching, and they really want something special and unique and value for their money. So this came with the starting process of development of the Decagon.
Okay, and can you tell me more about what's behind the concept of cutting the Decagon?
Cutting and designing the Decagon, right? Okay, so now the whole process line of the White Series line, in this particular case, has a lot of requirements. I'll try my best to be as layman as possible in this video. Try to keep it as simple as I can. It's really not simple. There's a lot of science behind the Decagon, but I'll try to. But in a nutshell, the requirements needed in at least designing it and cutting it. First, number one, it had to exceed the light performance of any existing patented or non-patented cut in the market, or ever made in existence. Its shape had to be unique, modern, and timeless. That's number two. Number three, any additional facets added must be purposeful to its overall brilliance, fire, and scintillation. Now, if all these terms, it sounds very jargon to you. A diamond consists of dispersion, reflection, and refraction. Now, all these things, dispersion meaning what you see in terms of this rainbow colors that comes out. Reflection is the surface reflection of the diamond, and also the refraction is how light is refracted within the diamond itself and back to the user's eyes. Why all these three matter is because a diamond is always moving. It's always dispersing light if it's cut well. When you have different kinds of surface reflections and you have a refraction happening at the same place, you create a sparkle or a bloom effect, you call it. And the Decagon was designed along these technical terms, you call it. Number four, the virtual faceting must be optimized with an equal distribution of brilliance, fire, and scintillation to hold a combination of the best of all worlds. Small, large, medium, of fire and facets alternated through the diamond, where usually most high faceted diamonds fail at. Most of the time, Casey, I'm sure you know as well, that any high faceted diamond really only creates pinpoint flashes of fire, which is kind of the the norm or what is known in the industry. The more facets, the less fire you see. You create just many pinpoints amounts. And this is the misconception. You can actually create something which has the combination of large, medium, and small alternated all the way through the diamond, and this creates something really special. And next, it must perform under all lighting conditions. When I say all lighting conditions, I really mean all. We're not only talking about fluorescence and spotlight, we're talking about medium spots, hot spots lights, mixed lighting, sun lighting, under cloudy day. If a diamond were to be able to be designed to perform under all these lighting conditions, then basically you can take the diamond out anywhere and it would look great under any lighting condition possible. The final evaluation after designing the diamond is done through a series of survey of tests of people aged 25 to 60 years old. Now, why we do that is or is needed is because as you grow older, you tend to pick up less light through your eyes and your eyes get more dilated. We wanted to make sure that the Decagon was still perceivable with people with more dilated eyes, meaning that the area of pinpoint flashes is still able to be picked up throughout, and it's not that they only can see the larger flashes. That was something very important as well to do. Now, the final design must be adaptable to different customizable ring designs. It cannot be limited to only like a certain type of design. This is to allow basically the wearer to express themselves if they were to customize the ring in any way possible. And now, besides designing, the quality control of the diamond is done by using only one of the best master diamond cutters in the world. By doing so, we can not only control the quality of it, but also we are able to ensure the ethical sourcing by purchasing the rough ourselves together with the cutter, working in tandem. We would know exactly where the diamond was mined from. This is extremely important as well, to know, rather than purchasing from the floating market itself. As when you buy from the floating market, meaning you buy online and you just click into an online inventory, or you walk into a store, even if it's Kimberly process stated, you would never know actually how many hands it has gone through. And because of that, it's extremely difficult not only for the jeweler, even if the jeweler was an ethical jeweler, it's still very difficult. And this is one of the challenges we face. How do we control having enough? We have to either give up the lack of supply of it and control the quality and the ethical sourcing, or we give up our moral values and we just basically get different cutters to cut it. But that doesn't make sense, because these are things that we want to hold. Basically these are the requirements in designing the Decagon.
I see, and thanks for sharing that. And for the Decagon, what makes it different from other higher faceted diamond in the world?
Okay, to answer that, I guess it's pretty scientific. So I'm gonna show you some illustrations of basically how the Decagon came about in the first place, or how it was designed in the first place. As I mentioned to you before, a simple Google search of all high faceted diamonds that you find famous ones like the solar sphere or the Leo diamond. And you basically can assess it through technological scopes like the ASAT scope and stuff like that. But besides that, I think it's better to show you like what was the actual thought process and the system of developing the Decagon in the first place. So what I'm going to show you first is basically over here is the original concept behind the Decagon. This is the facet structure. If I were to move around, you can see basically this is the wireframe mesh of the diamond of the original Decagon. That was how we started off with. Now, by itself already is pretty unique by its shape, right? We can have it orientated this way. We can set the prongs in these 4 areas. It looks like a very special diamond by its shape by itself. If we were to rotate it this way, we would have a whole new different way of setting the diamond. Now, this was the original first concept. And if I were to show you the ASAT and you understand how the ASAT works, and then you know it fails in many major areas. You can see all the light leakages, oversized table, etc. So this is just how the start of the process goes. Okay. Now, to understand this, we must firstly understand that the diamond was not just simply made like as a 10 hearts and arrows diamond. That's very simple to do. As you know, the Decagon has 111 facets in total. The facets placements was built around several systems. One is how the virtual faceting actually works in the diamond. Why do we add these facets in the certain areas? Now, say for example, if I were to show you in this particular diamond, if we were to look at the fire that or the dispersion that comes out in areas like here, for example, at the edges, because of the lack of that faceting in these areas, the dispersion doesn't look smooth. It looks very chunky and it looks very blocky. It looks like basically squares in a sense where it flares up, and that can be further improved by redesigning it or adding additional facets through that area. Now, how do you do that without reducing the size of it though? That's also another question. Yeah. So this was the original concept of it, or the layout of it, and then after that we moved on to other concepts like this one over here. So we tried something else. This one over here, which has actually 20 edges. This is pretty interesting. It was obviously not Decagon. I don't know the name for the 20-sided diamond, but this is basically 20-sided. Now, it fails by design because number one, it looks like a round. You really can't tell the difference at all. Is there a purpose to it? Not really. But the concept behind it was by adding additional facets at this point where I'm marking at, can it improve the light return or performance or increase the fire and scintillation around these edges? And by increasing basically the number of edges, was that achievable? Was that possible? Now, if we take a look at the ASAT for this, what happens if I were to make it face front? Now, it looks kind of decent, but what happens is that when you start moving a diamond, and you will move your diamond, yeah, the diamond is always static. If I just tilt it like 4 to 5 degrees around there, now I ignore what's happening over here. I just want you guys to look over here. you see these green areas over here where I'm pointing at? Yeah. What happens is that your diamond is going to look like it's being cut out. There is dark edges at the edges over here. If I tilt it even further, and then you see these, basically these dark edges start becoming more apparent. Now,
which actually kind of looks like inclusions, in fact.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like inclusions inside, and that's why cut really matters so much. Is because now people worry about the problem of like, oh, I can save more money if I buy a SI1 diamond or SI2 diamond, right? And then they don't really care. I mean, or they do care that if like there's black spots and they want to go for something eye clean. But the cut of the diamond actually really reveals way more, and it shows like dark patches of area, which is much bigger than a SI1 inclusion of let's say a black spot somewhere. This is a perfect example of a failed cut by nature, or a failed design by nature, which yes is my design. And you can see even from face front, you can tell already that the edges is blackened out over here. So this was something that we were trying out. There were the Decagon went through many phases. Like I said, it took 7 years of development to get it to where it is now. But this was one of the tests that failures that we did. Then after that, we moved on to many other failed designs, and then we came up with a much more appropriate design, which is one over here. Now, what we did compared to the original concept is that we reshaped the stars. We added the additional facets at the bezel. We split the bezel. We added the additional facets at the lower lower girdle facets, and on the upper as well. Now, what this creates is that it starts helping the diamond create a symphony display of fire in the diamond. Now, if I were to show you the dispersion in the diamond at tilted angles, no longer becomes blocky in its nature. Now, I know this is from a digital point of view, but if you were to actually look at the actual diamond, it really is what's happening. As you can see on screen, when the diamond moves around, every part of the diamond starts flaring up, and this is created all these areas at the edges, and this is what we coined the term, or we don't coin the term, it's an industry standard term of edge-to-edge brilliance, where every part of the facet is very reactive. The Decagon is a very reactive diamond. Slight tilts and everything just starts exploding. Now, if you notice, how we achieved that was basically through by virtual faceting. Now, virtual faceting by itself is very difficult to understand. Now, this is the base wireframe design of the diamond, right? Each of these is a singular facet on its own, right? Now, to show you what virtual facets is, virtual facets basically is internal reflections in the diamond, where light is bouncing around infinitely in itself, and it does show you how your diamond is dispersing light at certain areas, etc. Now, if I were to move the diamond, you will see all these lines kind of like move together in and out of itself. Now, the purpose of understanding this in its nature, and it's a lot of people don't really grasp this concept, is that when we mentioned that high faceted diamonds usually only came with pinpoint flashes of fire, correct? Right? And it's basically it becomes a whole giant mess most of the time when you go over 100 facets. Now, if you carefully place it, what you can achieve is a symphony display of large flashes of fire in combination with medium and small ones. Now, what's happening here is, if you can see on my mouse, is that this would look basically be the arrow of the diamond. If I'll show you the A-set of the diamond, this is basically acts as a reflector, as you've seen in this video over here, where you can see the arrows all start lighting up. So the arrows act as a reflector. Now, what happens is that you want to be able to have a dispersion of large in combination with small in alternation throughout the entire diamond. That means you can't have large ones like misplaced here and there, small ones misplaced here and there randomly, because that would basically, if you have two facets that light up at the same time, what happens is you just get one big chunk over there, right? Now, when you move the diamond, you really want to see a symphony of movement. You call it scintillation, but you don't really want to have only just pinpoint flashes. You want to have a combination of the both. Now, it's very important to segregate them into large, medium, small, and we do it by alternation. Now, if you look at it in this way, in this sense, when you move the diamond, these areas of larger virtual facets would flare up bigger, and this will go smaller, and then this will go bigger, and this will be smaller, bigger, bigger, smaller, bigger, in alternation, on and on and on and on and on and on. Now, basically, this was the first prototype concept, where, as I mentioned, we reshape the stars to prevent over clustering, because in high faceted diamonds they perform very well under spotlight, but they fail under what?
White light.
Yeah, they always fail under white light. Under white light they look way over contrasted, but for the Decagon it looks extremely bright, while showing that 10 really beautiful arrows as seen in your first video that I saw. Now, the next concept or the final concept that we ended up with was that we found that by splitting the bezels facets in a very specific way, we were able to create a much better, well, we call it symphony of movement of fire, right? By letting an alternation of large, slightly smaller, smaller, large again, smaller, and these whole areas starts reproducing this effect that you see in the video over here, where every facet starts lighting up in small, large, large, small, large, large, small, large, large, small. If you play the video, you will notice that effect that is going all the way through, and that's the specialty of the Decagon, how it moves, because a diamond is never static. It is moving. We evaluated it based on tilts on both the virtuals and on the A-set scope as well, and this really created a display of well, you can call it fireworks, I guess, but the understanding of brilliance, fire, dispersion, or really brilliance in general, the alternation required of large, mediums, and smalls, it is the base concept to creating the Decagon in the first place.
And how much better would you say the Decagon is compared to the super ideal cut 57 faceted round?
Okay, better is I guess a weird term to use, because if we were to be technical about it, right? Now, face up, because of the number of facets and how it's carefully placed. I'm gonna bring back over here the video, this wireframe mesh over here. Now, every facet that is placed on this diamond, all these ones over here, is all for a purpose. They all each have an individual angulation. They all needs to be perfectly symmetrical, and these all actually serve a purpose. Now, one of the purposes of this facet structure is to increase its overall light performance, which is the internal refraction in the diamond, or also known as light return, right? As we can see in the A set. Now, in the A set, when we rotate the A set up and down, you would notice that it really holds up in terms of how red it is. Even the intensity of red you can see in this video, right? When it moves up and down. Now, for people that understand the ASAT scope, the ASAT scope has two uses. One, a face up value, and two, a tilt value. That means when we're looking at diamond, we usually look at not only face up, but even at tilt angles. What kind of tilt? 10, 20, sometimes even 30, depending on how you move your diamond. But a diamond never is static, and we took that to the next level by when designing the Decagon, is that it had to perform under all tilt conditions. So, meaning, for example, in this specific video over here, if we tilt this about I believe it's 15 degrees, then compared to the super ideal cut, where the edges over here appear much darker, the Decagon actually still remains extremely bright as compared to the super ideal cut. Now, how many percent? I would say about 30 to 40% realistically in real life, because this is taken through the video, but when you actually see it, yeah, it does really reflect it much better, because our eyes pick things up differently from the camera, but it's a very good representation. Technically, to put it in layman's terms, I would say face up value, because of its intense light return. Let's say a G color of a Decagon super ideal cut round actually face up meaning 90 degrees, looks 3 to 4 times brighter or whiter, because it masks the true body color of the diamond better. So that's one advantage. The second advantage is that it has true edge-to-edge brilliance, meaning all corners of the Decagon really flares up in terms of its scintillation. In terms of its fire display, the super ideal cut round does generally have at the pavilions facets, at least the arrows, larger fire at that point, but it really misses out on every other facet. As I said, the Decagon is extremely reactive. What slight movements, every facet reacts to light. So I would say overall 40 to 50% in terms of light performance in general. When I say light performance, it's a very vague term. GIA thinks it's a very vague term too. But when I say light performance, it's classified under brilliance, dispersion, also known as fire, the light return of the diamond, and the scintillation of it. So yeah, about 40 to 50%. On top of that, the color grade, it helps to improve the color grade of the diamond as well. I wouldn't say help. Okay, wrong way to put it. Face up looks brighter. It helps to mask about 4 grades higher.
All right. Thanks for explaining that. Now, the next question I'm going to ask is a very important one, especially to most consumer, is that how's the price of the Decagon? How's it going to be like?
Right.
And will these type of diamond cut hold its value well over time?
Oh, that's okay. So we'll answer. I guess there's 2 questions in one. Yep. So we answer the first question is how we price it at. Now, since day one, I was never a believer of branded diamonds in general, or brands in general. Well, at least when it comes to diamonds, brands for diamonds, at least you can't really market in a sense. I do appreciate the branding behind stories like high-end fashion brands like Hermes, or for example, Louis Vuitton, for example. I mean, but these Chanel or any of these, you know, they all have history to it. A lot of hard work was put into it, into the branding, and there is a sense of a story to their branding. The thing about diamonds though is that you can't see it. If you were to spot a Hermes, sorry if I killed the word or mispronounced it, but Hermes bag, Birkin's bag, you would know it's a Hermes bag, or a Louis Vuitton one, especially you would see the logo on it. You won't see the logo of a high-end branded diamond anywhere. I mean, you could mark it on the diamond, but you would destroy the diamond, but you wouldn't see that. Now because of that, I do not believe in premium prices for the diamond, for diamond. Even though the Decagon is branded, we patented it. It is a branded diamond. It is not branded in terms of its price. Now, the Decagon compared to the higher standards of the super ideal cut round costs about 5 to 10% higher. Now, the reason for the 5 to 10% is if you notice that the Decagon is cut off in 10 different areas. Not only that, it has 111 facets. The faceting areas, as you can see over here, is extremely intricate. What you're seeing on the video right here, obviously is a very magnified view, but all these small little tiny facets has to be individually hand polished to the optimum most symmetry of basically the standards that we hold. Now, that being said, there's loss of rough wastage because it has to be cut in this unique shape, number one. Number two, we actually absorb the workmanship costs for the Decagon, for cutting the Decagon. This is an agreement made with our cutting facility, so that we do not impose on to our clients, and we will never impose on to our clients as well. So all that is lost actually is the rough wastage that was lost during the cutting process. Now, if 5 to 10% of rough of the diamond was lost during the cutting process, but the diamond ends up looking 40 to 50% better, I would say that is a worthwhile value trade-off, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So that answers the first question. And what was the second one? I'm sorry.
The second one was, will these type of diamond cuts, the Decagon, hold its value well over time?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question, which is a question that is very valid in the current state or time that we are having this conversation, especially with the coronavirus and all that. Now, what's happening in the diamond industry right now is that from a consumer's perspective and the industry's perspective is entirely different. What's really happening in the industry is that higher end goods, meaning, for example, those that are like super ideal cuts, true super ideal cuts. I'm not saying about the ones who just dub it for super ideal cut when it's just a steep, deep cut. These kind of diamonds actually are being sold much faster now, especially to countries such as China. They're gobbling it all up. You in the industry terms, you call this high make diamonds. High make means a lot of cut. Basically, the cut of the diamond was extremely well polished. A lot of work was put into it, and it looks extremely brilliant. Now, why this is happening is because the people are making more informative purchases at this point in time. When they purchase something at this point in time, they want it to hold and retain the value, rather than back in the day, at least pre-COVID situation, back in 2018, people would waltz around and they would just buy 1 or 2 or 3 diamonds, not even doing much research at all. Now, these days, people would actually try to learn more about what they are actually spending or buying, and that's what's really happening. Higher make or triple excellent goods or super ideal cards. True, when I say triple excellent by GIA or ideal 000 by AGS, I'm talking about the higher end ones. Yeah, these are the ones that has always held its value all throughout the entire years. Now, what's happening in the floating market? Now, the floating market, if you don't know what that means, is basically if you know how, there's tons of websites now that you can just go on and you click on inventory and then you say we list the thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds and thousands of diamonds, right? This is called the floating market. Basically, we have access to it as well. In fact, we know almost every cutter in the industry. Whatever any other jeweler puts in the floating market, diamond cutter puts in the floating market, we have access to it. Now, why is it in the floating market in the first place? It's because it's a rejected good. It's difficult to sell, so they throw it there. And in this current case of time, what's happening is that there's a huge difficulty in selling these goods. Mainly China purchased a lot of the excellent cut ones. The better the cut, they would take it all up, and it would not end up in the floating market. Basically in the floating market. And what cutters do, or they end up facing now, at least in the last 6 months. Has it been 6 months already?
Yeah.
Yes, 6 months. They have been basically either suiciding on the price. That means dropping the price as low as possible, and then end up in a loss, or they take the gamble to recut and repolish the stone to a better cut, and they take it off from the floating market goods, and they sell it, or they catch someone by surprise, people who are not that educated, and then they don't really understand what the floating market is, and because of the lack of information, they think it's a good buy, and they purchase it off, and that's why people list it over there. So in general, how does it hold up? To answer your question, sorry, it's such a long reply. Will it hold up in terms of value? Yes. Number one, because we are not planning to sell it to or mass produce it in terms of the supply end. We want to control the quality control of it. Now, supply always ends up in retaining its value. That's one thing. The light performance and the rarity of it contributes to the value of it. It is certified by AGS 000, so that's another reason for holding its value as well. So if that answers your question well. Yeah.
Thanks for answering that. So I understand that so for the Decagon, in terms of the price, it's about 5 to 10% more compared to the super ideal cut 57 faceted round. Now, because of the 5 to 10% difference, it may go over the budget for some. Why not consider cutting the Decagons in the lower color range, like the H to I colors, to meet that budget?
Oh, that's a very good question. Now, that's also something that most industry people also only know, is that lower color diamonds, lower clarity diamonds, fluctuate in price a lot, or rather it has been a following trend over the last 10 years. As HIJ at 1.89 years ago, it was one of the popular choices. As time went by, it's been dropping in value. What has never dropped in value, however, is higher colors and higher clarities as well. These always retain their value. Now, the Decagon holds up to be able to be face up whiter, brighter, 3 to 4 times than the highest standard of super ideal cut rounds. So by doing so, we can actually sell H or I Decagons, right? Because it would look more like an E of a super ideal cut round. But why we don't do that is because of the value retaining the value of it. HI or J has been declining over the years, and this is something that we do not want to do to our clients. Basically, we ourselves, if you put it in a sense, our clients repurchase diamonds, we sell them. We don't buy it from the floor. We are not a middleman, if you understand what I mean. So we actually hold physical goods. Now, when we buy it, we want to have a sense of our value being retained. That being said, H being so fluctuating, that meaning sometimes it can go up and sometimes it plummets. If we start introducing that a lower color in let's say the White Series range, or the Decagon, unfortunately, that's actually not doing the client a favor. That's actually kind of basically letting the value, selling something that knowing the value of it would fluctuate and drop. So if we start selling H, where's the end zone? I, J, K, L, M. How low do we go? And one can say like, oh, there's between H and I, there's not much of a difference. I and J, there's not much of a difference. But when you start comparing J and then back to E, and then you suddenly see, oh my God, there is a huge difference over there. So that being said, we need to set a certain standard as well. So that's the standard that we set, of the minimum G. VS2 clarities are given, as I always causes troubles, not only durability but light performance issues. So as much as we would love to meet the budget because of the 5 to 10%, I would say that it's actually still very much worth it for the 5 to 10% just because of its performance.
Thanks for sharing that. So now you guys know why we only carry D to G colors and VS2 clarities up. Alright. Now here's the last question that I have. Right. So let's say me as a guy, and I'm going around shopping for an engagement ring. How do I know the Decagon is suitable for her when I do not know anything about it or what she likes?
Right. Okay. So now, the Decagon in itself is a very unique cut, because it both from afar, it kind of looks like a round, and then when you go up in a closer distance, about 20 centimeters or so, or rather 2 feet away, around there, you start noticing its shape. And then if you go closer, you really get a true appreciation of its shape. Now, its uniqueness is something that as a guy yourself would have to determine. This is something that the White Series line was designed for. Every diamond serves a different purpose. Its shape serves a different purpose. If you feel like you want to get something much more unique, much more rare, much more higher performing than the typical round, you don't want something just just the regular norm. Yep. That's where the Decagon really serves its purpose. I can't say that, hey, go for the Decagon. The Super Deo cut round by itself is a beautiful diamond. We've been selling that for the last 10 years, alongside with our other Super Adeo proprietary shapes. But I would say, because it's pretty safe in terms of its shape, and because it also is unique by its shape, when up close, it is a pretty safe bet as a guy to make that sound decision. Personally, I would just saying. I mean, it's the whole idea behind it is not to stray too far from the typical round, but you still want it to be unique, because you want to express, as a guy, you want to express, to give something unique when you propose. And as a girl, I mean, if you guys actually go down to have a look at the Decagon, now whatever I've explained is the base scientific basis behind the Decagon. There's actually way more to it, which would end up being, there's some things that we can't give away as well, explain, because there's some secrets behind it. But besides the scientific reasons behind it, go down and have a look, and then you would have the whole idea behind it is that on first glance you would know the difference immediately already. That was the purpose of the Decagon.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
And for our viewers, thank you for tuning in and watching this video. It's quite a long video, but something which is really interesting, right? And something that you have to know about this special Decagon piece that we launched.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me around as well, Casey.
Right, thank you.